Hi everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another Royal News video. So I hope you all had wonderful weekends. I know it's midway through the week, but it's me just catching up with you. We went back to Great Windsor Park and it was stunning. We had the sun shining, which is a rare thing in the UK, as most of you know, and it was just gorgeous with all of the autumnal leaves, the colours, the reds, the greens, the oranges. Absolutely beautiful. And we decided to take the dogs for the big, I think it was 8.5 kilometres around the lake. I do recommend it to anyone that's ever thinking of going. It is flat, a lot of it is actual tarmac paths, and it's wheelchair and buggy accessible, but really beautiful day out. So that was really good fun and the dogs loved it. So speaking of dogs, this is a Royal News video. I'm going to start off with some sad news, and that is Queen Camilla has had to have one of her rescue dogs put to sleep at the weekend, and the Queen is reportedly devastated, as any of us are. There are so many of us, we love our pets as part of our family. In fact, I'm not sure I can trust anyone that doesn't see their pet as a family member, in all honesty. The Queen and King have two rescue dogs, one of them being Beth, who sadly is no longer with us, and the other being Bluebell. The Queen adopted both of them back in 2011 from Battersea Dogs Home, and Beth has accompanied Her Majesty several times back to the centre, where she was apparently a staff favourite, even being there for the grand opening of new facilities and kennels at the rescue centre back in December 2020, with Beth even helping with the unveiling of a plaque and the aid of a sausage. Beth and Bluebell also made their place in fashion history last year, and that is because the Queen had them both embroidered into her coronation gown. So that's something nice to remember them by. But as for dogs and the royal family, they have played a huge part in royal life for many centuries and are clearly loved by the entire family, both past and present. They often appear in family portraits and videos that are then released to the public. The love the royals have for their animals is always evident, and this is why animals also love them back, especially when out meeting them in public. And when I think about Harry and Meghan's treatment of their rescue dogs, it's not exactly on par with the rest of the royals. First of all, you've got the fact that Meghan, an apparent dog lover, she rescued two dogs herself, but her second one, a family was reportedly already starting the adoption process, but she used her name to make sure that the dog went to her, and she said that she would make sure that she promotes a shelter. This is Bogart that then bonded with Guy, her beagle, but because he didn't like Prince Harry, because, well, they were living with another man pretty much at the time Harry started dating Meghan, Meghan decided it was best to dump her dog like an old pair of shoes when she moved to the UK, thus separating her two dogs. Now, speaking of Guy the beagle, he mysteriously had both of his front legs broken. No mean feat for a beagle. And not only has this mystery never been really revealed as to what happened to the poor puppy, he was dragged outside for their engagement photographs. He's got both his front legs in cast, and Harry has taken him outside for the really romantic moment. They weren't roasting a chicken in the kitchen as one previous engagement story came out. No, Harry was outside setting up cheap plastic candles as Meghan was hiding inside the house in a dark room on the phone to Jessica Mulroney because she knew what he was about to do. Well, as Harry proposed to his then girlfriend, in this photograph that you can see that Meghan managed to pause him, excuse me, stop proposing to me right now, I need to capture this for Netflix footage at a later date. You can see Harry is also yanking up the poor dog to be in the photograph by his collar with two broken legs. Harry does not have a good history with animals. But let's not get onto them just yet, because we've still got some royal news to talk about, and one of them is Prince William's visit to Ulster University in Belfast, and the difference in reporting from the mainstream media. This is exactly what myself and Dan Wootton and lots of other people talk about when we say that the newspapers deliberately manipulate certain situations to give the dramatic headlines. So we're going to go with the fact Prince William was booed as he arrived at a university. Prince William was booed as he left the university. But what they leave out of these headlines is the fact who was doing the booing. And it just happens to be the typical lot that we are seeing everywhere, who are terrorising children in McDonald's and Santa's grottos, all for the need of a little bit of attention, like green-haired Just Stop Oil activists. They are all cut from the same attention-seeking cloth, and if I'm honest, it doesn't matter if that was Prince William. It doesn't matter who it would have been. It could have been their very own parents and grandparents that arrived, and they would boo if they thought it would give them attention and, more importantly, put their faces in the newspapers and on the TV. So, of course, this is the bit about the visit that the newspapers jumped on straight away to make Prince William out to be the bad guy. But in truth, the reality of the visit was very, very different. Prince William was very well received. He was spoken about a lot by students from the university, saying what a wonderful, sweet guy he is, that he's so down to earth. I think one person said that he's sound. They liked him because he spent a lot of time chatting to them, getting to know them, and even starred on one young lady's video, her TikTok, which was filmed for her teacher. She was so excited to meet the prince with her friends that she didn't go to one of her university lectures. So she got Prince William to explain to her lecturer, Leslie, the reason why.
Yeah, just tell her why we're late. Just say sorry
To Leslie?
Yeah.
Leslie, are you recording?
Yeah.
Leslie, I'm very sorry we're late, but they seem to be caught up and they wouldn't believe that you were here. So, just to say hi.
It's the royal equivalent of the dog ate my homework, miss. Now, Leslie did apparently comment underneath the young lady's video and said, I accept your royal pardon. I mean, if you're gonna have an excuse, that's one heck of an excuse to not turn up to a lecture, isn't it? And if it wasn't for the fact that she'd filmed it and recorded it, people possibly wouldn't have believed her. I'm sorry I didn't turn up to my lecture today, miss, because I was actually hanging around with Prince William. You wouldn't be believed. But again, there was such a lovely, fun story that came out from that, and Prince William remembering what it was like to once be on a motorbike, because Prince William did actually have a hobby of that until Catherine apparently said that she didn't like it, understandably. But the fact that there was so much positive coverage and so many lovely photographs and moments that came out from this visit. But of course, the media just jump on Prince William was booed. Again, it shows the manipulation of the stories and the fact that many people are gunning for the Prince of Wales. Now, as for Prince William apparently being booed, let's talk about the brother that definitely does get booed and heckled.
Tillman family, especially Mrs. Mary Tillman, Pat's mother. Her advocacy for Pat's legacy.
So speaking of that particular person, well, he has made an appearance over in Vancouver, British Columbia. This is so Harry could plug the Invictus Games. His appearance was at the 111th Grey Cup, which saw the CFL, the Canadian Football League Championship game between the Toronto Argonauts and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and it's one of Canada's largest televised sporting events. Harry made an appearance to plug the Invictus Games, which is happening between the 8th of February and the 16th of February next year. Now, in Harry's short interview, he made it quite clear, in my opinion, that he was not interested in the game whatsoever. And I actually found him to be rather rude towards his host with his answers. First of all, Harry came in, I'd say, rather stealthily into the stadium. And then when the host asked him what is he looking forward to most about the game, this was Harry's response.
First of all, is both of your first Grey Cup experiences, and what are you looking forward to most?
First Grey Cup, yeah. What are we looking forward to? The game getting started. Let's go.
Hey, we went on for 5 hours.
That's the best that he could come up with on the spot. Yeah, I'm just here for the game to start. So that's what you're looking forward to most, Harry, for the game to start. Okay, great. No wonder the fans got bored of him and booed. Harry Harry did briefly look interested and happy at one moment, but that was because his face got plastered across the big jumbotron and he received a few claps and cheers from people in the stadium, which I'm sure made him happy because that's a very rare occurrence these days. But the fact is that Harry is using the Grey Cup to promote his Invictus. He wasn't shy about letting his host know that either. Because as the interview went on, it got slightly more strained, and at one point the host is trying to get Harry to say something about the Canadian football game in the background that's about to kick off, and Harry's not really playing ball.
I know Harry played a lot of rugby, so you know your skill set better than anyone, okay? If you had to translate rugby to the CFL, would you make a better quarterback, receiver, running back, maybe a middle linebacker? What would you be?
But this is wheelchair rugby, and
Yes.
it's conveniently called murder ball.
I
So
know,
when it comes to
crazy.
positions, I wouldn't be able to tell you which position is better.
No, but you would rugby when you played your rugby.
I played rugby. I was fly half and scrum half.
Well,
All that time ago.
So if you translated it to Canadian football, what do you think you'd be? What was your best
I don't
skill?
know. I think quarterback is a cool place to be.
Quarterback, all right, running the show, exactly.
This is wheelchair rugby. No, Harry, you might be hell-bent on talking about wheelchair rugby, but this host is trying to talk to you about the Grey Cup that is happening all around behind you. You could tell that Harry was getting a little bit agitated with any questions that were slightly off script. So the host not giving up, he does try one more time to get something, anything out of Harry to do with the Grey Cup. And he asks him, who does he predict to win? And this, again, is Harry's response.
I guess as a role of Prince, you're not allowed to be partisan. Can you make a prediction for today's game, or no? Do you have to stay neutral?
I'm not going to make a prediction for
I know
today,
you
but this time in less than 3 months, we'll be back here for the opening ceremony in February. So that's what we're really excited about. But
Can't wait for it. Both your first Grey Cups. Enjoy them both today, and thank you so much for dropping by.
It's the way he turned away going, I'm not going to give a prediction. He might have well have turned around and said, I don't actually care. I'm not here for this. I'm here for this. I'm here to promote the Invictus Games. As I said, he was very, very dismissive of any questions coming towards him that were outside of the scope of his Invictus Games promotion. He didn't even try and hide the fact that he's like, I literally don't give a single shit about your football game. Let's talk about me and the Invictus. And then just like that, he was up and he was off and he left. Again, not taking the time to speak to anybody. He was there, he got his shots, he got the money shot, and he was gone. See, people do say that Meghan is like the worst person in that relationship. He is just as bad as her. And I think, in all honesty, I think that she has taken a lot of flack when he has somehow got a free pass for his behaviour. Now, as for the Invictus Games, we are obviously on the countdown for the Vancouver Whistler 2025 Invictus Games, and Harry is quite clearly on the campaign promotional tour. And what he's doing is he's actually changed his angle. He's trying to appeal to a bigger and very different audience, and he is using Canadian school children to do so. In the run-up to February's Games, the Invictus has now launched an online program for Canadian schools.
Seeing them learn about the Invictus Games has had a profound impact on me, because this is where Invictus starts to go even wider, outside of the Invictus community, into schools in Canada and hopefully around the world.
How, do you ask? How or who could be agreeing to this sort of reach being pushed into Canadian classrooms? Well, as I've said to you guys many times when it comes to these two, it's not what you know, but who. And speaking of which, I don't think the kids had a single clue who he was. So the question is, why is Harry now trying to reach into schools? Why is he trying to get a wider, bigger and different audience? Well, my theory on this is because the Invictus Games is in trouble financially. They've spent way too much money on the Winter Games, and due to Harry and Meghan's toxicity, not as many people are wanting to go, to give donations, to invest. The Invictus Games has already had over 30 million additionally given to it by the provincial and federal governments of Canada. You know, they need this to be a huge success. success, they need bottoms on seats. And there is a lot of things that have clearly been going on, which I think are signs that all is not well behind the scenes. Take Dominic Reed, the CEO of Invictus, quitting with no notice, I'd like to point out. He did not have a replacement lined up. How do you think that looks? A CEO that's worked for the company, well, the foundation. He was one of the original people that got the Invictus Games off of the ground. Harry calls himself the founder and collects awards for being the person that created it. It was designed and created technically by the Americans because it's a copy of the Warrior Games, but it was created by a huge team of people, I've said before, in the country, by the Royal Foundation, by the MOD, by serving military personnel, ex-veterans. Lots of people came together and made the Games a success. They weren't expecting Harry to quit a few years later and to take it as part of his severance pay packet. Upon quitting, Mr. Reed said, "I have delivered the 10-year vision I set out, which includes the introduction of the winter sports, which is close to my heart as a former biathlete." So why did he leave when he did? Why would you leave before the Games have even started? So that is a big red flag. Well, he goes on to say, it's time for someone new to take this vital movement forward into its second decade. That to me sounds like he's gone, do you know what? I don't like the direction it's going in. I want out. I mean, as I said, he quit at short notice and he didn't even have a replacement lined up. To be the CEO of a company for 10 years and to go like that without obviously training someone and then slowly handing over the reins, I think speaks 1,000 words. And not only that, whilst Harry put out a quick response when Dominic quit and it was made public, Harry did a gushing tribute to his friend and said that he was immensely grateful for his dedication and leadership, his tireless efforts and relentless service for the Invictus Games and the veterans. Well, it's a shame that he didn't think to thank Dominic and all of the other people that made the Games a huge success when he stood up on stage and collected his Pat Tillman Awards. Harry said that he was up there collecting it for the Invictus, but he's never ever thought to thank anybody. As we all know, the same reason why he got those veterans to stand behind him on stage, so he wouldn't be booed and heckled too loudly.
Tillman family, especially Mrs. Mary Tillman, Pat's mother. Her advocacy for Pat's legacy.
Harry was up there clearly to collect the award for himself and pat himself on the back. Harry can tell everybody that he created the Games as much as he likes, but anybody that's got Google can easily search for the truth. Now, it's not the only red flags either, because CEO Peter Lawless, a lawyer and one of Canada's most respected Olympic and Paralympic administrators, was sacked alongside Bill Cooper, Chief Commercial Officer for the Whistler Vancouver team. Now, they got sacked or reshuffled round about the exact same time a whistleblower came forward and said that the Games are struggling financially. This is possibly why Canada injected some extra funds to it. But they were also concerned about these expenses. It's highly likely their security, their travel, all of the cars, accommodations, wardrobe, dinners, and I can imagine it's a very sizable sum. No doubt Invictus even picked up in part the tab for Nigeria and Colombia, hence why they always manage to squeeze in a little bit of the Invictus Games here and there. It's so that they can recharge their luxury holidays and their PR tours under business costs for promoting the Invictus Games. It makes me wonder if those two gentlemen were reshuffled because they dared to ask questions or express their concerns about those two skimming the till. Harry and Meghan, as we know, like to surround themselves with yes people, and they do not like anybody that questions them or could potentially cut off some of their extra pocket money. Now, as for staff being whistleblowers and being a little bit disgruntled, can you blame them after Meghan's visit to Whistler, where they told staff that they were to be referred to as Sir and Ma'am, which is, reserved for people of high rank in position. I guess Meghan forgot that she didn't want to be ranked. She wanted to be linked to people, and Harry forgot that just call me Harry certainly had the day off. They have allowed Meghan to sink her claws too deeply into the Invictus Games, and it has clearly damaged a lot of support and goodwill towards the Games. Not the veterans, but to the Games themselves. From the moment Meghan started dating Harry, she convinced him to use the Invictus Games to springboard their relationship into the public, and then quickly said, "We want some privacy." Meghan has been clinging to Harry like a barnacle ever since, stopping his interactions with all of the athletes and friends that used to attend the Games alongside his family. Meghan started giving many speeches at every appearance, with Meghan, of course, taking centre stage. Then you've got the constant changing of designer outfits. And who can forget Meghan marching in front of veterans wearing a pair of short shorts, so short that from behind it looked like that she'd forgot to put her trousers or her skirt on. Even when they went to Nigeria, bearing in mind that they were invited by the Nigerian Minister of Defence, it was meant to be purely about promoting the Invictus Games, but Meghan somehow managed to turn it into her search for her 43% Nigerian ancestry. Even the Invictus Games promo featured Meghan playing table tennis with Harry. I mean, no wonder they have lost so much interest. They thought slightly better of it with Heart of Invictus, but I think the damage had been done. People didn't want to watch it, and it's a shame because the stories of the veterans, their journeys are incredible. They're inspiring, they're tear-jerking, they put you in a really, really happy place, but we don't hear about the veterans anymore. Because of Meghan has shoved herself front and centre, because Harry has allowed his wife to take that position, as have a lot of the people that work on the Invictus Games promotions, people have tuned out, including some veterans themselves. Even the new promo video for the Invictus Games, which has just dropped, seems more about Harry showing how fun he is than it seems to be about, advertising the games, the veterans, the sports. Now we obviously understand why Harry was spotted at a top celebrity tattoo studio when he left the Jimmy Kimmel Studios for his Halloween skit. But Harry sits in the tattoo chair and pretends to get an I Am Invictus tattoo, swearing and joking about having it on his arse instead. Seems to be a bit at odds with his earlier messaging when he appeared at the school where he was promoting the new school programme, which is about appealing to a much younger audience and being geared up for young families. So he sits in a tattoo studio getting a fake neck tattoo swearing. Now, as for the tattooist who is going along with this, he is singer Jelly Roll, a very popular singer at the moment, and it was more about advertising that he will be performing at the Invictus Games. So there's nothing wrong with doing a fun skit like he's done, but it just seems so cringeworthy and it's so far away from what the games are that it just seems completely bizarre and more about self-promotion than anything else. So as for cool Prince Harry, just there having fun with the kids, being nice and giving them free tickets to come to the opening of the games, pushing for schools to make children watch the Heart of Invictus and to do Invictus class projects, it's not really about getting the kids interested in veterans, their stories, their recovery. It's about appealing for a newer audience. They are using the schools like Harry used the Grey Cup. It's about making money, and it is also about making sure that in Vancouver and Whistler that all of those seats have bottoms sitting on them. And the thing is, with all of this speculation going on with Harry and Meghan and the games that they're now playing with the media, there's no separation announcement. All the build up to the Invictus Games will be, is Meghan going? Are the children going to make an appearance? Because Meghan reportedly teased that several months ago. And then, of course, if Meghan's there, it will be the same old stuff. Meghan and Harry kissing for the cameras, Meghan's wardrobe. So yet again, we're going to see another Invictus Games that will be completely overshadowed by what Meghan is no doubt wearing. So guys, that's it for me on this video. I will be back with you very soon. Take care for now. Bye.